YouTube, what's going on, man? It's Father Dark, and today in this video, we're going to be talking about Overwatch. Obviously, you can tell from the thumbnail. First, I just want to say I hope everybody had a really good weekend. I hope everything went good with Mother's Day. If you don't celebrate Mother's Day, or they're not around or anything like that, I do apologize. But for everyone that did celebrate, I hope you had a great one and all that good jazz. So let's go ahead and get into the video. So the other day, I was watching a video from Flats. If I'm not mistaken, it was the video where he was talking about Marvel Rivals community having a problem or an issue, which I've made similar videos, but he's one of the rare creators that I can actually kind of like listen to. I don't mind his opinion on things. So, and I do think he has an interesting take on things, especially with, for someone like myself, who this is really my first real dive into hero shooters. Now, I've played Overwatch in the past, but I only played it as casually as someone can play a video game. And I only played it when friends and family literally begged me to the point to where they actually bought me the video game back when you had to buy Overwatch prior to its free-to-play days. They actually bought it for me as a birthday present. So it was kind of a situation where it was like, here, you have no option now but to play. There's no excuses anymore. So that was the thing in regards to Overwatch. But back to the Flats video, he was basically talking about, like I said, he was saying that there's a lot of toxicity that's in Marvel Rivals, and he had personally believed, there's no way to really prove it, but he had believed that a lot of the toxicity that was originally in Overwatch, a lot of those players went over to Marvel Rivals. And he had made a point saying that a lot of his female audience that had kind of disappeared throughout the last couple of months that he's been primarily focused on Marvel Rivals, they had started coming back when he was playing Overwatch. And he believed that was because there was a lot less toxicity, whether that's because a lot of those people moved over to Marvel Rivals, or because Blizzard had taken a lot of measures to kind of cut out all that toxicity. Now, me personally, I haven't ever had any problems with being banned in a game or anything. The only time I've ever had issues with that was in Call of Duty, and that was because they had implemented an AI system where people could just literally report you even when your mic wasn't on. I remember I got banned from Call of Duty one time because I told a dude to put the fries in the bag and flip my burgers or something like that, and apparently that was toxic behavior, and they chat banned me for I think it was 14 days or something like that. And there's no way to appeal any of that. They might tell you that you're appealing it, but really, who's it going to? Probably no one. So, but long story short, I thought about this because I have a younger sister. She's 10 years younger than me, and me and her game a lot. And one of the main games, she was one of the family members I was referring to when I said that I had a family that begged me to play. She was one of the main people. She really tried to get me into it. She really thought I would enjoy it, but it just, being someone that comes from FPS and which I understand Overwatch is, but when I say FPS, I mean more like military style FPS, Call of Duty and all that stuff. Not saying it's a mil sim, not to be confused with that, but just completely different styles of gameplay and stuff. And it was really, really hard to get me into the concept of that. But like I said, I had no problem playing it when I played with friends and family. But to me, that's not what makes a game good. I have to genuinely enjoy it, whether there's people to play with immediately or not. I can't just base my enjoyment of a game solely off of if people are on and want to play it for long periods of time, especially when it's something that you're trying to make content for. You have to genuinely enjoy it yourself. But the thing is that with my younger sister, me and her would talk all the time, but let's say that we had to go into game chat because maybe her Discord wasn't working or whatever the reason was. She would immediately go quiet. And when I used to talk to her about it, I would say, hey, why don't you talk in chat as much? And she would tell me that pretty much any time that she did turn on her mic and people heard her voice, she would immediately be told to either go wash dishes or make a sandwich or something, or people would immediately try to hit on her, meaning try to talk to her, get her number, whatever the case is, even though she would tell them that she was married. And a lot of times when that didn't go through, or they realized that wasn't going to work, then they would start being extremely toxic. And I just have to say, as a side note really quick, that I don't understand. I know there's a lot of guys out there that are like myself that encourage women to game and are super supportive of that and stuff. But we also know we've all been in some Call of Duty lobbies, Overwatch, whatever game it is that you're playing, and we've had those guys that are extremely toxic, right? Especially toward women. And whenever, I just have to say that if that's something that you just kind of don't say anything about or whatever, try to make people let that be known. That's just not what are you doing? It's 2025. Women play video games, and they should be allowed to without having to deal with nonsense like that. It's not cool. And the thing is that guys that do that a lot of times, they've probably had very little interaction with women. So I really don't understand why you would do stuff like that to begin with and scare them away even more. that doesn't make sense to me, but I could make a whole entire separate video on why people do that. But for the sake of this video and the time, like I said, it really made me think about it. And there was something else too in my Discord. If you haven't joined the Discord, I would go ahead and join it. We have a lot of different people in there, all different skill levels. And if you're looking for people to play Marvel Rivals with, a lot of them even play Overwatch as well. So it's not just solely Marvel Rivals. Even though I don't play it myself, I don't care what people go in there and do and talk about and all that stuff as long as it's respectful to each other. And we don't deal with toxicity. We go ahead and get that nonsense out of there immediately. So if you haven't joined that, go ahead and join it. The link is in the more info part of my channel at the very top. Nonetheless, though, I had went into the Discord after I saw this video because, like I said, I know there's a lot of women in the Discord server, and a lot of them, they talk about the fact that when they're not playing Marvel Rivals, they do play Overwatch. And I had been noticing kind of like a drop off as well from when we initially started the server to when currently there's just I've been not seeing them as much, like, as active in the chat. So I thought, well, maybe the same thing is happening. And if my viewers, female, male, whatever, they're also interested in Overwatch, which I know some of them are for a fact because I see them talking about it, I said, hey, well, you know what, let me just ask really quick and see if any of them want me to get on Overwatch. I may not enjoy Overwatch that much, but if you guys want me to see, or if you want to see gameplay from Overwatch, even if it's just me struggling because I've been out of the loop for so long, I have no idea what's going on and would have to, start over from scratch again regardless, or you just want me to talk about it, give opinions, whatever, I don't mind doing that for you all. I'm here, like, yes, I enjoy making content that I enjoy, but at the end of the day, though, gotta give you guys what you want, right? So I just simply added everyone in the Discord, and I just asked a very simple question. I said, hey, would you all be interested in seeing Overwatch gameplay? I lie to you not, no exaggeration. The chat started going so quickly, I could not see anything. I had to just hold it for a second and stop it to be able to read it, but literally 99.9% of the comments were no. Pretty much hell no. Like, we don't want to see that at all. We are completely done with Overwatch. We don't want to see anything to do with Overwatch. Some of the comments were Marvel Rivals is far more interesting and makes for better content. I mean, it just was going on. And I thought it was kind of hilarious because I was not expecting that. I thought it would be a little bit more balanced. And I have to say there was probably only two people. One of my female subscribers, Fawn, if I'm not mistaken, and another guy, Scott, which Scott is one of the people who in our Discord, he probably plays Overwatch more than he plays Marvel Rivals. He plays Marvel Rivals very, like, casually, just for fun here and there to mess around, but he plays Overwatch competitively, and that's kind of his main game. Those were the only two people that actually were, having anything positive to say about Overwatch. Every single other person in the whole entire server was like, hell no, man, we're so good on that, it's not even funny. I thought it was really interesting. And then the conversation started kind of going downhill. It started to get, I wouldn't say it got toxic, but it started to kind of, because not only were people saying that you shouldn't play Overwatch, or that they didn't want to see me play Overwatch, they started disagreeing on why they didn't even want me to play Overwatch and why they thought it was a bad game. And it started getting to a point to where I was like, hey, you know what? Let's just open up a stage on the Discord and let's get all you in here and let's just talk about what the beef really is. Because as someone who didn't play the game that much, I know why I didn't enjoy it. It just wasn't my style of game. But I do think it's interesting when you did play the game and you loved the game for years and now you feel this passionately about it. But it's not something that I don't understand, because this channel used to be a Call of Duty channel. It wasn't. I know a lot of you have come from the Marvel Rivals content. I'm very appreciative of that and thankful of it. But at the same time, when I first started this channel out a couple of years ago, it was a solely that was it, just Call of Duty. And I defended Call of Duty endlessly. I dealt with a lot of BS that I probably shouldn't have for a very long time with that game and the developers. I can't even really say the developers. I feel like it has to do more with the corporate guys, or corpos, whatever you want to call them, at the end of the day, that are sitting in there in business suits, that have never probably touched a controller in their life, that are ultimately making a lot of decisions that the developers probably don't want at the end of the day. But ultimately, the buck stops with them. That before anything gets shipped out or approved, or they press the little green button, it has to go through through a corporate boardroom of people, like I said, that do not care about the game at all. They just care about how many yachts they can buy. So like I was saying, I fully understand what it's like to love a game and then you put so much time and energy and money and so many different things into it, only for them to get to a point to where, it's just like I don't even want to look at it or see it or smell it, anything. I just want it as far away from me as humanly possible. So, like I said, we go into this call, and there's probably like at one point there was like 20 or 30 people in there. That's just the ones that were speaking. There was a lot of people in the audience that were listening, and everybody gave like a lot of really, really good points. And I thought about recording it, but I'd have to go through like getting permission from everybody to do that and stuff, and maybe having to edit out certain things and stuff. So I'm just going to kind of talk about some of the things that I heard from people. And one of the main things that I heard from people was the fact that basically they were all right doing the bare minimum with that game for a very, very long time. They were perfectly fine with it. And it wasn't until Marvel Rivals came out that Overwatch really said, hey, the pressure is really on now. We're actually losing the little bit of players that we already had or didn't have, or however you want to say it. And now Marvel Rivals is getting all this popularity. So you think about like when Concord came out. People love to bring up Concord, but Concord is interesting because one of the things that, especially from the outside, somebody who doesn't play hero shooters, I kind of just assume that because when you don't do something, you just kind of assume a lot of other people don't do it, or like why you know how people are naturally. When we don't like something or whatever, it's kind of hard for us to understand why other people would like it. And I understand people are that way, but it's like I don't like hero shooters, so why would anybody else care, right? Call of Duty is this thing and it's awesome. I'm more into battle royales or extraction shooters, so that's my thing. And so you have this game and people genuinely love it and they enjoy it, but then you kind of disrespect them by making the game free to play, and you say, okay, well, we're going to come out with a PvE mode. They say that's the whole reason that they go free to play, that they stopped doing a lot of the updates and stuff like that back in Overwatch 1 toward the end of its life cycle, only to kind of be a slap in the face and them come out later and say, okay, well, we're not doing the PvE mode, and here's the second game or iteration of it. It's free to play now, and we're fully monetizing it. And we're not going to really change that much. We're going to slowly like drip feed these characters every maybe 2 or 3 characters a year. I don't know how many. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure it was like 2 characters a year or maybe 3 at the most or something. And I understand that once you get to a point and you get a big enough roster, it's kind of hard to keep implementing characters and keep the balance the way that it should, or make those new characters relevant because there's only so many new things under the sun, and that's really hard. But at the same time, though, when you have a live service game, you have to be able to keep people interested. That's the whole premise behind a live service game. You only have really 2 options. You have a live service game like Marvel Rivals, Overwatch 2, or you have a game that you pay for that's just what it is. Let's take like the new Doom game that came out. Right? Doom game comes out. It's just and I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe they've done something live servicey, or maybe they're selling stuff in those games now. I don't know. But I'm just using it as an example of a game that you pay for. You pay for this game. You get the game. You know that whatever's in the game is what's in there. Now, do they come out with DLCs later once everybody's beat everything and maybe they want a little bit more, some extra maps, some new weapons, whatever? Yeah, of course. And you pay for that DLC. Sometimes they're free and they just kind of add them on with certain games. It's rare, but still it happens, I'm pretty sure. Nonetheless, though, the point I'm making is those are the only 2 options that you really have. And it's understandable when you don't make content for a game anymore that people have already paid for, and that's just kind of what it is, unless there's some type of DLC down the road. But when you have a live service game, people are going to expect constant updates. That's what's going to keep them interested, especially when we live in a day and age where new games are popping up every day and they're all having to fight for our attention. And most of us nowadays have very short attention spans. You can call it TikTok brain, whatever you want to call it, but the attention spans are very short. So you have to keep people interested, and there's other things too that have played into it. For some people, it was the toxicity. A lot of people complain that Overwatch became entirely too toxic, and then you start getting into the same, argument that I was talking about earlier in regards to a lot of the decisions are being made in a boardroom. We already know Bobby Kotick. I think that a lot of us can agree, because I think that a lot of people don't realize how much influence that he had in regards to different stuff. Even though I wasn't playing Overwatch, we were complaining about him over on the Call of Duty side, because you already know Activision, Blizzard, all that stuff, it's all part of the same company. So at the end of the day, you have these people that don't play video games. and then they're slowly starting to cut teams like testers and stuff like that. So then they start pushing out updates, and you're like, who tested this? Oh, nobody. No one tested this. They just fired their whole entire testing team. And like, why you would do that? Well, because it makes their bottom line bigger. And to them, they're like, who cares? We'll let the consumer test it. Well, then the game gets bad reviews, and people are making all these videos and stuff on YouTube saying your game is terrible and the updates are terrible, and asking, what are they doing? And then who do they blame? Everybody likes to blame the dev. But the devs, they have their specific job. I think a lot of people get it misconstrued when it comes to devs. They think that like the devs just walk in and control everything. That may be how it is for like indie games, because they a lot of times don't have some corporate entity that they have to answer to at the end of the day. But when you're talking about AAA games, they have people in suits and ties that walk in there and go, how much money is this going to make us? How's this going to benefit us? And there's so many different points that can be brought up in regards to this. There's a lot. And however you personally feel, let me know in the comments, because I'm definitely really interested. If you're somebody who is still playing Overwatch, why are you still playing it? If you're someone who stopped playing it, why did you stop playing it? If you're kind of like in between and you go back and forth between Marvel Rivals and Overwatch, what causes you to do that? Because like I said, everybody has, especially like when we hold these stages, which is another reason why I'd recommend joining the Discord, because we regularly have these stages where, I'm not one of those creators where I say, hey, join my Discord. Now, you never see me in there. No, I'm in there every day. Whenever there's an issue going on, I love to have people talk about it. Sometimes I even do videos where, will be soon. I've already recorded one, but I hope to record more in the future, where we hold these stages and I let everyone talk, and we don't over talk each other. We're not disrespectful. No one belittles the other one or anything like that. And, I allow you all to give your perspective and have some type of stage and platform to be able to talk about the things that are important to you, because I think everybody has something that they can offer. I love hearing different people's perspectives, because my perspective is only based off of what I know and what I've done. And even though I've been alive longer than a lot of what my analytics say, but most of my viewers have been, it doesn't matter if you're 3 years old. There's something that you can add to the conversation that maybe I wasn't thinking about, or something that I don't have this perspective. Now, I don't recommend any 3-year-old join our server. We actually just updated it to where we would prefer you to be 16 or older, but still though, like I said, everybody has something that they can add to the conversation, in my opinion. So I am very interested to hear what you guys have to say about it. Like I said, me personally, when I was on Discord and I asked, people, do they want to see gameplay? What a lot of people said was honestly like, no. And I feel like it's only fair, if I'm going to talk about Overwatch, that I at least jump in and play a few matches, which actually just got the notification that it's done downloading. But I did want to go ahead and make a video initially just kind of talking about the conversation that we had earlier, and a lot of the points that people had brought up and stuff like that. Like I said, I could make this video 3 hours long in regards to all the different things that people talked about, because so many different points were brought up in favor of it, and not, just like the gentleman Scott. He's becoming someone who's very active in there, and he brought up a lot of good points as well. He said, well, as much as people like to say that they weren't doing things to add to the game, things like Stadia, or it's either Stadium or Stadia, I can't remember exactly, but that's been something that I have been hearing from a lot of people that they've personally been enjoying. It's very easy to relax. Apparently, they brought back 6v6, and they've taken away role queue. Now, I don't think that's like for ranked or anything, but even still, though, the fact that they're at least trying, I feel like is something. But at the same time, though, I mean, realistically, if we look at, I pulled this up. Let me just see really quick. So I know that Steam isn't the best like metric for understanding if a game is like really thriving or not, because there's so many other points of data that you could add in there. But it is something though, because a lot of people do use Steam, and I understand that a lot of people also use Battle.net. It doesn't account for the people that are on console, which they really need to start doing that. They really need to start letting us see console numbers instead of just saying this is in the top whatever or whatever the case is. But let's just see numbers. Like why are you so scared to see numbers with games? Nonetheless, though, we're looking at Overwatch 2 here on the Steam database, and it says that the peak in the last 24 hours was 30,000. All-time peak was 75,000, and that was 1.8 years ago. And the people that are playing right now is only 15,000. Now, we look over here at Marvel Rivals, and today Now, I'm recording this video at like 3:30 in the morning. I took an early nap around like 6 or so, and I slept until probably like 12. So I'm just up for the rest of the day, I guess. Nonetheless, though, the point I'm making is that even at 3:30 in the morning, which I'm on the East Coast, they have the current players is 63,000, and the peak today was 142,000. So, and by the way, this is number 8 on the most played for Steam, which is actually where I play Marvel Rivals at, which is Steam. But technically, when I went to go download Overwatch, I downloaded it on Battle.net, and I don't know why. I just, if I'm going to do Call of Duty or Overwatch, something like that, I would do it on Battle.net unless it's something that, it's like paid and I don't feel like paying for it and it's available on Game Pass, then I would just get it on Game Pass, kind of like Black Ops 6. I didn't buy Black Ops 6 this year because it's on Game Pass. So like, what was the point? I have Game Pass for like life pretty much because of my kids. They love to use Game Pass. So that's kind of just saying that like that's how that kind of works, is that just because you see one metric does not mean that like it's like, oh, okay, well, Steam is everything. No, sometimes people play on different things. Battle.net, there's other launchers that exist. Actually, I don't know if you can play Overwatch on anything other than Steam or Battle.net. Let me know in the comments like what exactly you can download it on. But like I said, most people, even we did a poll the other day in the Discord where we asked people what platforms they were on, and I'm pretty sure like 60% of people in there were on console, whether it's PlayStation or Xbox or whatever. I'm pretty sure probably I think obviously when you look at the sales for PlayStation, it's probably more PlayStation players, but nonetheless they're on console. So that's a massive chunk of people that are on there. But I do feel like that overall you would kind of see like the same numbers, like it would be the same thing. It might be an increase, but let's say that there's only a quarter of people that are playing Overwatch in comparison to Marvel Rivals. I feel like it would be the same thing, even if the numbers were increased. It would still be the same amount overall, right? The same difference, I'm basically saying, of people playing versus people that are not. So that's just my thoughts on it. And do I think that Overwatch can have like its redemption arc? Maybe. But at the same time, I think that honestly, a lot of the popularity with Marvel Rivals is because of the Marvel IP. There are a lot of people that only play this game, and I know this for a fact because I'm one of them. They only play this game because you get to play as your favorite Marvel characters, and you get to play as a lot of people that maybe are more obscure in the Marvel universe and they don't really get brought up as much. And the gameplay itself, in my opinion, is solid. Is any game perfect? No. But to be able to get someone who despises hero shooters and has never found them appealing, it's a great game. And I brought up earlier, I think I brought up Concord for a split second, but then I started talking about something else. And the reason why I brought that up is because when that game came out, people sat back and they said, well, the hero shooter genre is overcrowded. That was what people said. They said, this is why this game, they spent $400 million or $200 million, however much it was. I have to look it up. You can also let me know in the comments too exactly how much that was. All I know is they spent more on this game than they do most like Marvel movies and stuff. The budget was absolutely insane, and it was in development hell for the longest time. You had so many hands in there. It's like too many chefs in the kitchen trying to make one plate. It's probably going to come out crazy versus if you only just have one or two. And with them saying that this is why the game failed, and then you look at Marvel Rivals coming out like, what, a couple of months later? Was it even that long? And it took over the internet. Like I said, all these people that have never had an interest in hero shooters, most of the people that I talk to, this is their first time playing anything like this. Of course, there's a lot of people that came from stuff like Paladins and Overwatch and stuff. But at the same time, you have twice as many, sometimes maybe even 3 times as many people like myself that had never really played games like this. And if they played them for about 2 minutes and then got on something else. So when you have something that's that good to where people are willing to make an exception and play something that they would normally just kind of snub their nose at and go, I'm not really interested, and maintain the player base that it has, of course, a lot of people. I made a video the other day where I said Marvel Rivals is dying, and I think a lot of people get dying confused with dead. Battlefield is a dead game. That's a game that no one cares about. Nobody's playing Battlefield. Nobody's talking about Battlefield. Nobody's checking for Battlefield. The people that play those games, well, that game in particular, as buggy as it was and as terrible as it just overall was and how they just kind of gave up on it, the people that are still playing that game, they're just diehard fans of it. And that's okay, pretty much any game is going to have people that there's games from 20 years ago that still have people that are keeping it alive. And even if they shut down the servers, they open up their own servers or remake the game on a private whatever, so there's always going to be some people that are like still kind of interested in something. But when I say something is dying, I mean, like, for example, Marvel Rivals. There's a lot of people that have stopped playing. And I know this because I try to stay in tune with the community. When I make videos like this, I pay attention to all the comments. I can't respond to all of them. A lot of these videos, they get, upwards of 1,000 comments and stuff like that. Sometimes it's like only 500 or 200 or something. But even still, past a certain point, I'm just one person. There's not a team of people running this channel. So I can only respond to so many comments. But that's why I try to be as active as I can in the Discord. And there's even a lot of people in there that have been honest. And they've just said, listen, I've just stopped playing because of this reason or because of that reason. But, I still find your content interesting, or, I like the community here that's really chill or whatever. So I still stick around. But like I said, that happens with pretty much any game. Anything that comes out that's new and it's shiny and different, whatever you want to call it, people are naturally going to like jump on it. They're just going to jump on that train. And then maybe something else comes out. This is being proven to be a really good year for games, and we still have so many more to come. And then even next year is going to be really good. So there's a lot of things that are coming out where people, not everyone is the kind of person that no life's a game like myself, where when I play a game, I pretty much only play that, and I might dabble here and there in something else, but I'm mostly like 99% of the time playing a particular game, trying to become as good at that game as I can. But a lot of people are more casual with their gaming experience. They jump on one night, they play this, then the next night they're playing that. Maybe their friends want to play this game, so they're doing that, and that's understandable. So that kind of explains a big portion of the drop off for Marvel Rivals. But at the same time, though, there are things that have to be addressed and reasons why people are leaving, other than just, oh, this new other shiny game came out. And one of the biggest things about that is a lot of the toxicity and the infighting and people being attacked verbally for roles that they're choosing to play in the game when they're literally just trying to help you. Like, they're just trying to heal you, and people are like, you're a heal bot, don't talk to me, and it's just, a lot of people are just kind of turned off by that. So yeah, like I said, there's a lot of different points though, but let me know in the comments what you all think about Marvel Rivals. My Discord is not the only, they're not the only people that watch my content. There's a lot of you out there that aren't in there. And I'm also curious about your opinion as well. Are you interested in seeing Overwatch content? Do you not care about Overwatch? Do you despise it? Do you feel no particular way about it? Whatever your opinion is, I love to hear from you guys. Like I said, I try to respond to everybody. I try to interact with all of you guys and girls and stuff like that, because I do care about what you have to say. I am very interested in it. I don't think that anyone's opinion is irrelevant or whatever, nor do I shrug it off or brush it off or anything like that. So like I said, just let me know in the comments what you guys think. But that's all I have for this video. In the next video, where I talk about this, I'm going to actually try to go in and unbiasedly give the game a chance and try a lot of the new things that they have and see if maybe now that I've played Marvel Rivals, if it's changed my perspective of Overwatch, or if I still just, don't care, whatever the case is. But I will at least try to next time give it a chance for the people out there who are, usually in the comments saying, hey, they've actually added these new things. They got Stadia now and all this different stuff. So like I said, but I'm going to wrap it up though. That's all I have for this one. I do appreciate you all for listening. I'm Father Dark, and I'll catch you on the next one.